Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
December 28th, 2019, the Huawei Charm Offensive Edition. First up, from columnist Chris Tomlinson at the Houston Chronicle, he writes about a turnaround specialist who finds opportunity in distressed properties, and then turns them around and makes money on them. But unlike many in private equity who believe the answer is simply cutting costs, this turnaround specialist believes that it's putting money into and bringing the distressed properties up to market and then taking advantage of that lower price to create value. I thought it was a really interesting article. It really points to the compliance practitioner and why you need a seat at the table, because when you have a great financial risk, there's obviously great financial opportunity. And if you can be there to deliver a compliance solution if needed earlier than at the end of the project, you will certainly be in a much better position and your company will be in a much better position. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal, the Risk and Compliance Journal, COSO is going to issue guidance on blockchain. The distributed ledger technology will be a focus of the COSO in the next year, and it's going to provide guidance for companies looking to apply internal controls to blockchain technology. COSO is developing voluntary guidance for companies to strengthen their oversight of blockchain technology, and this guidance is expected to be released in Q1 of 2020. The guidance is aimed at executives in the financial services as well as companies using blockchain technologies, according to Paul Sobel. So we greatly look forward to that. Having internal controls around blockchain will be an excellent addition for the compliance practitioner. Next up, also from the Wall Street Journal, a quite disturbing article. There is allegations that U.S. and international contractors allegedly paid protection money to the Taliban for projects in Afghanistan. This information was found in a civil lawsuit brought by families of deceased soldiers and contractors. If this is true, this will certainly be a very damaging piece of information for many U.S. contractors. Some of the companies named include Black & Veatch, Centera, Janus Global, South African company MTN, as well as Louis Berger and DIA Global Group. So we will continue to watch this. If it turns out they were paying protection, it's going to be very bad from the certainly trade sanctions perspective. The lawsuit was filed by lawyers from Kellogg Hansen and Willkie Farr. And finally, Huawei is back in the news for a little bit different reason. They are on a charm offensive in Europe. They are trying to convince Europe that their shared values should allow them to compete in Europe. It's going to be interesting to see the European response to this. Certainly, the Trump administration has come out full bore attacking Huawei, and with the U.S. trade sanctions that they have leveled on Huawei, the U.S. now needs to have its putative allies work in conjunction on those trade sanctions. The problem, of course, for the Trump administration is they have attacked our allies and embraced our former enemies. So when you attack your biggest trading partner, i.e. Europe, it's going to be difficult to see how or why they would agree to help enforce U.S. trade sanctions going forward. The Trump administration does not seem to understand that conundrum, as it's attacked not only Europe, but Canada and Mexico. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the Huawei trade sanctions will work for Europe. I hope you have a great final weekend of 2020. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.